Again, glad to have you back.
Thank you,
It
sir.
is the season of giving thanks, or as some college students would, or high school students would refer to it as a time to look forward to getting away from school.
Of course, and now let's be honest. Some of us staff and professionals
I
kinda
am
look
not
at
arguing
it as
that. I think this break is going to be welcome. I am looking forward to this Thanksgiving, DJ Brother Rod. First of all, I mean, we're going to be spending some time with my brother up in Las Cruces. We're going to drive up there the day before Thanksgiving.
Nice.
You know, again, spending some time with my brothers. And I'd like to offer a little bit of observation. Now, my theory hasn't held true yet.
Okay, well let's go for
But
it.
here's
I'm all
a
about
theory that I'm
theories.
offering up to you, and we discussed this a little bit, and I want to get input from the audience to see if they would respond to this. But it seems to me that families, by nature, we're very tribal. We accept people into the hold. We do a lot of social inclusion and exclusion. Excommunicate members if we have to, especially during Thanksgiving.
Who would do anything like that?
Well,
we're grateful for all of our family
Well, absolutely.
and loved ones and friends.
Absolutely, yeah. No matter how weird Jack is up there. So, no. One thing that I wanted to observe was it always seems to me that when there's a family gathering, there is a meeting of the minds, if you will. Like those family members that carry heavy clout with them, very heavy credibility, that when they meet, you know something's about to go down. A big decision has been made. It could be very trivial. It could be where the next Thanksgiving is going to be hosted, to the very extreme of who should we excommunicate next in the family. Now, again, I'm just throwing out that theory. It hasn't held true yet. I've only observed that in my family, where there's certain family members when they get together, something's about to happen, a big decision's about to be made. But Brother Rod, I mean, what do you think?
Let me first say that if Dr. Dobson is listening to this part of the show,
Yeah.
I'm sure she is greatly appreciating this conversation,
Oh, absolutely.
this dialogue.
Absolutely.
Have you taken the family communication
I have
class?
not,
Okay.
and I look forward to taking it.
Oh, my.
Hopefully, I think in the fall I'm scheduled to take that, so I am looking forward to it.
Well, this conversation completely sits right in the midst of all the various theories and conversations we've had in previous classes. So, Dr. Dobson, I would have to encourage you to provide DJ JMR with a little extra credit. Maybe you can make sure you save this conversation.
Absolutely.
You can
It's being
splice
recorded, and I will make sure to archive this conversation
Yes.
for future use.
Yes, just splice
classes.
this part and just say, Dr. Dobson, I'm so in love with your class that I couldn't wait to get into it. That we established an entire show based around family
Hey,
communication.
there you go. See, there you have it. We've established that. It's there. And I also would like to make two more observations before we go into a music break here, and we bring in our special guest, that the TRiO programs kind of have that same thing going on. It's not an annual thing.
Well, okay.
But it's more. I will go into a music break. We'll discuss this a little bit later. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin this show as we always do. We're going to play a little bit of Lifehouse. Here is Lifehouse with "Am I Ever Gonna Find Out?"
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you were just listening to Ockerville River, Down the Deep River. And before then, you were listening to Fantasia, If I Was a Bird. And of course, we always start the show with Lifehouse, and that was Am I Ever Gonna Find Out? Back to you, DJ JMR.
Thank you very much, DJ Brother Rod. You are listening to Let's Talk TRiO on Houndwaves College Radio. We are broadcasting live from the campus of Eastern New Mexico University. My special guest today is Christopher Luna, director of the Upward Bound program at the University of New Mexico. Chris has 15 years of educational experience as a teacher and an administrator. He's taught K through 12 and also college level. He has 3 years experience with TRiO. He is 2 years away from completing his PhD in curriculum design and instruction. He aspires for an executive MBA after he obtains his PhD. So, Mr. Chamber,
I made a boo-boo.
What happened?
I kind of hung up on, I guess.
You hung up on the... All right, Chris, if you're listening, go ahead and call back 575-562-4083. We'll start a little bit. I mean, we're gonna talk about a little bit not only about Chris's tenure as a director with the Upward Bound program.
Yes.
And also him being in college, but also we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about kind of the theory that I just proposed out there to the audience of Let's Talk Trio / Hound Waves. Just putting it out there, what do you all think as far as that theory is concerned? And we're going to revisit it. Just a brief recap. The recap was, my observations, and this is just, again, with my immediate family. Do you have someone, or do you have people in your family that make big decisions when these group of people come together? And I'm going to throw this right back to you, DJ Brother Rod. I mean, in your experiences or within your family, do you have something like that going on?
Before I answer you, let me give that number out one more time for Mr. Luna.
Yeah.
575-562-4083. And again, I apologize for hanging up on you. I promise if you call back, I won't hang up on you. Now, to answer your question, okay, then Mr. Chris is calling back now.
Woohoo! All right.
Mr. Chris, I'm so sorry. I'm putting you on
Hold
right
on.
now.
We have Mr. Chris Luna on the line right now. He is joining us live on Let's Talk Trio. Chris, you there?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. So, Chris, earlier in the show, we were talking about, with it's the season of giving thanks. I'm sure you're going to have a Thanksgiving family reunion. I'm not sure if I'm being presumptuous at this point. Are you going to have a family reunion with the Thanksgiving season coming up?
Yeah, most of our family's here in Albuquerque, so we kind of get together and have a big get together here.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna get together and eat candied yams and turkey and all that good stuff.
I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. It's the day you are permitted to eat as much as you want without penalty. Now that penalty comes later, but you can eat as much as you want and do whatever you want. I'm telling you, Chris, I'm gonna go all out this season.
I am too. I eat the fried turkey. I eat the baked turkey, the smoked turkey. I gotta have it all.
Smoked turkey, man.
Yeah.
It was
my gosh.
bomb.com.
It was delicious.
It was like turkey brisket. I mean, if you ever, I'm sure you've tasted turkey. At least I presume you have. But it was like a turkey brisket. It was so delicious. But nonetheless.
Absolutely. So, Chris, I just wanted to ask you a question. Now, my theory hasn't held true yet. It only holds true in my family so far. But I'm going to ask you this question. In your family, are there certain family members that hold this certain level of credibility that when they get together, they're making a big decision, that they may be making a decision that may impact the family, or even talking about excluding certain family members?
Oh yeah, I think kind of great grandma, right? The sweetest, nicest lady. She's the one behind the scenes. She sits on the throne when everybody thinks, that they're young and they're doing this and they're doing that. It's the grandma sitting in the back on the shots.
Yeah. And what I shared with Rod is with my family, it seems to be for some reason it's my grandpa and my two uncles that are older than my dad, and whenever they seem to get together, you just know something's about to be announced. But with you, it sounds like it's a matriarchal, like grandma makes the decisions.
If grandma whispers in your ear, something's going on.
Does that whisper accompany a pinch to the side or anything?
Oh no, it's beyond any physical. All verbal, a look.
Well, again, Chris, welcome to the program. We're glad to have you on air. Thank you so much for calling back. So I just wanted to get right into the interview questions. Before joining Upward Bound as a director, did you know much, or did you know a lot about TRiO programs?
I knew they existed, but I didn't know a lot about them. It was kind of one of those things like where I'd say to myself, well, where was that when I was in school? Or, how come I didn't know about it, And so I worked there at a larger department called College Enrichment and Outreach Programs, and we had McNair, Upward Bound, SSS. I was a student staff member in 2003, I believe, a TA, and that's when I first was aware of TRiO programs and their impact.
Okay.
So, I almost want to call you Dr. Luna, but I'll.
Oh no, I'm not.
Not quite.
It's soon. It's soon.
I don't give free medical advice now.
Well, when you became director of Upward Bound, the Upward Bound program at UNM, how did you feel? How was that transitional period coming into Upward Bound, knowing that you didn't have much knowledge about it? You didn't go through any programs. Juan and myself both are alum of a TRiO program. So how was that transition for you?
It was smooth, and it really wasn't much of a transition. During the interview, I knew a little bit about Upward Bound. I was excited when I applied and got the interview. During the interview is when I learned more about the program, and, that it was like a little school, at least the way it was. The grant was being carried out here at UNM, and I've been a principal of a high school. I've been an administrator at different schools, and during the interview was when they had asked me what makes you qualified to do this job, and I thought to myself, well, I said, boy, it sounds like you're running a little school here, and that's what I've been doing, is running schools and administering educational programs for the better part of, the last decade. And it just, I was excited during the interviews when I started to get excited, because sometimes, I think when you go apply for a new job, you don't know what you're getting into. And this one, not only did I not know what I was getting into, but when I found out what it was everything that I was, in love with.
Wow, that's amazing. Let me ask. I mean, you must have seen that position in a classified ad or online somewhere. What drove you, or was there a particular part of the job description that said, I want to apply to that?
No, I can't say exactly that I read anything, because I had found out, like I said, I had come up through that particular department, and I had heard that there was going to be a vacancy, and so I knew a little bit about the program, working with high school students, trying to get them into college, which is where I was at and what I was passionate about at that time. So just the two words, Upward Bound, just kind of got me going. And, of course, the TRiO family, the SSS programs, the McNairs, being part of that network was also very exciting.
Okay.
Well, and again, I almost thought to say Dr. Luna.
You can call me Chris. You'd say call me, Luna. But I don't think I've ever been called doctor or anything. Maybe professor, and I even tell the students not to do that. So.
It's just indicative of your direction. I just feel it. It's just coming out of me. Well, can you share with us your college experience, and did you ever foresee yourself going into school administrations as a principal and now as a director over essentially a high school? I mean, a mini high school.
Right. I didn't. I was just telling the story earlier with some family. We're celebrating my son today, and somebody had asked me, how did I get involved? And I said, when I was in high school, I was a big athlete. I wrestled, I played football, and I played baseball. I don't know if I had a notebook or a pen in my bag, but I know I had a football or basketball. That was for sure. People would ask me, what do you want to do when you get older? And when you graduate, I said, I'm going to play professional baseball. And they said, well, what if that doesn't work out? Because, it's tough odds. And I said, well, then I'm going to play football. Oh, well, what if that doesn't work out? And I said, well, then I'm going to train for the Olympics, and I'm going to be a wrestler. And I thought, well, if all of those odds had failed at that time, my math in my head was one of those will work out, and it wasn't until I was a student staff member at UNM, and I had started to first train to be an educator, and the associate vice president of the division had told me at the time, he'd asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I'd like to be a professor at this university someday. Mm-hmm. And as he was walking away with a smile, he said, well, don't ever rule out a career in student services. And that stuck with me, and the moment he said that, it really opened my eyes. Like, these folks that I work with, like I said, I was a teaching assistant at the time, a graduate assistant, and teaching courses for some of the programs there, and I had never thought about it, and I said, wow, that would be awesome to do this full-time and professionally, to impact lives, and, even more than impacting lives, I think, everyone will agree what they do for a living is something that they love, and I had finally found something that I loved that wasn't sports, if you will.
Yeah. We just had a Saturday meeting this past week, yesterday, and we focused on careers with our students, and one of the things we were trying to highlight to the students is the importance of exposure. And we've really been trying to drill this into the students' minds, because I don't think that some of our students realize that you go in with the plan oftentimes, and exposure has a lot to do with the directions that we wind up in. Something as small as a statement saying, well, don't rule out student services.
Right.
How critical it sounds like it was, and kind of your guiding directions, if you will.
You're right, because, I was a young man, and I didn't have, a terrible amount of life experiences. I was still young and, trying to work my way through the college campus and whatnot, and those words really, it meant a lot to the exposure to the department, and then again, the exposure to just folks that had a lot more life experiences than I did, and that he probably looked at me and said, it seems like this kid likes what he's doing, and maybe he's doing a good job at it. So it was just his way of sort of guiding me in the right direction, sort of saying, I don't know if you know it, but you like this, so don't rule it out.
And a lot of our times, like Rod said, students don't consider that alternative mode or that alternative to their careers, because and I remember telling my students, you can't rule out not being, for example, some of our students want to go on to be in athletics, and that's perfectly fine. But I also tell them, what happens after you retire, or if there's an injury, God forbid. But if that happens, do you have a backup plan? And so I think that's very important, and I think that one of those things that TRiO does is emphasize that you have to always keep your career options open, and it seems that really hit home for you.
It did. Like I said, when I was, I wasn't an Upward Bound student or an SSS or a talent search student, but I came from a family where not only did neither parent go to college, but neither parent graduated high school. So I just didn't know a lot of things. I didn't think that I was smart enough to go to school. That was one thing. I thought that kids that lived up on the hill, so to speak, went to UNM, and I kind of was supposed to go in a different direction. And it was the exposure, meeting different kids, and saying, oh well, this person's getting a degree at this place, maybe I can do that. Just getting exposure, getting out of your element, getting out of the house, going to things that you've never done before, whether it's a youth group or a community event, a play, theater, things like that folks maybe have never tried, is when you really open your eyes and get those great pieces of advice and those learning moments.
Okay. Chris, I also want to ask, there must have been something, and you referred to a little bit about how you saw someone going to college and you said, hey, I can do that. But what was monumental? What made you know for sure that this is what I want to do? I can go to college and I can succeed in it.
The monumental moment was when I had reached a level in a career that I thought that I had liked. I was a fireman for a little while, and I was constantly doing physical work that as a young man was okay, but as I started to get through a couple of years, my body started to fail out. I had already played sports for a long time, a lot of injuries in sports, and I felt that personally I was tired of using my body to earn money, And so my moment was in a fire one day, and I said, I want to, for a change, be in a position where I don't have to worry about falling through a roof or getting hurt on one of these job scenes, and I just want to be, have a normal work, if you will, where my mind was the way that I was earning money rather than my body. I went a little different route as far as college goes. I started school, I stopped because I'd met a girl that I fell in love with, so I wanted to So I was like, I'm going to be a fireman. All my uncles and all my cousins are firemen, and that's what I want to do, and that's, quick money, respectable profession, and I'm going to get this girl to marry me. And in the course of doing that job, I learned a lot about myself, and that I couldn't do that as a job, and I didn't want to do that. And so I went back to school, and it took me about a year and a half to finish up my bachelor's degree from when I'd started, and I sort of caught this wave of success and happiness at the university. And I always tell people I've never had a bad day here at the university, whether it's been as a student or a staff member. And I'm still riding that wave right now. It hasn't stopped. It started in about '03, '02, and still riding that wave.
Awesome.
Chris, I have a follow-up with more than a comment you made, but you talked about your family dynamic. Most of the men, it sounded like, were a part of the fire department or were firemen.
Yeah.
DJ JMR and myself have had the conversation about coming from labor work type backgrounds, and how most of the men, in some cases, most of the men have either worked in dairies or oil industries or what have you, something that's really, really laborious. And we talked about how oftentimes with first generation college students, male college students, that education itself is not necessarily credited as a job because it doesn't require as much labor or much physical labor. Mm-hmm. Was that something that you had to deal with in your experiences coming into education?
I think that's an issue for all young men, Rod. It's an issue because I think that when you're 18 and you're just about to graduate, you do want a job because you want a lot of times material items that for some reason make you feel more mature, whether that be a car or an apartment or whatever that may be. So I think a lot of young men face that. They can't see the investment of 4 years in school paying off, but they can see that, their friend is working a certain job and they're making a certain amount of dollars per week, and they have either, a nice car or a nice apartment. So that sounds like a good idea to me too, right? So I think we all face that sort of lifestyle. However, it was a little bit different. My father worked 2 8-hour-a-day jobs. He worked 16 hours a day, 2 full-time jobs, driving a bus and doing construction for the city of Albuquerque. And we knew how hard he worked, and we didn't want to do that, and he didn't want us to do that, and that's what he was working so hard for, so that I could be in sports and be in school where I didn't have to worry about contributing to the family and things like that. So, I think that growing up, I didn't necessarily have that viewpoint, but as you start to hit those years, 16, 17, 18, and you start to see young men around you start to acquire material items, and you want to see the money right away. You want that job that pays, cash, and you can start spending it. So I think a lot of young men face that, and that's what I talk to our kids a lot at Upward Bound about, trying to avoid those pitfalls. I tell a lot of the boys that the number one thing is always a car here in Albuquerque, a fancy car with fancy things. And I tell the boys, if you do that, if you go that route, that may be the last nice car you ever have. Wow. Yeah. The object is to get that car maybe at a later age. Maybe it's in your late 20s, but you can get another one in 5 years, and another one in 5 years, and another one in 5 years, rather than always telling that story of when you had that really cool car when you were, a really cool 19, 20-year-old. So I try to tell them that tale that be careful. That might be the last nice car that you ever own.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Chris, we're going to take a quick music break. If you can give us a call back in about 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. We're taking a quick music break, everybody. We'll have more with Mr. Christopher Luna, the director of the UNM TRiO Upward Bound program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you were just listening to No Such Thing as Too Late by Miss Brandy from her album 211. Before then, you were listening to Empire State of Mind, Alicia Keys. And before then, you were listening to If You Told Me To by Hunter Hayes. And last but not least, before then, you were listening to Adele, Rolling in the D-E-E-P.
Rolling in the deep. All right, everybody, welcome back. You are listening to Let's Talk TRiO here on Hound Waves Student Radio. We are speaking with Mr. Chris Luna, director of the UNM Upward Bound program. Chris, you there?
I hope I didn't hang up on you again, Chris.
Oh, go ahead and...
Sound like we got Chris. Chris,
Chris,
you
are you there?
I kind of hear some in the back.
Yeah, I think he's in the background, and I'm not sure if I hear something though. But as we are waiting for Chris's response, I'm sure he'll get back to us. I think we have him on there somewhere in the background.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
I thought I had it on speakerphone, and so I was waiting on you guys.
All right, right on. So, Chris, again, thank you again very much for joining us this evening. We're going to continue our conversation as far as TRiO is concerned. We did talk a little bit about you and your educational experiences and your knowledge about TRiO. We're going to move on now, and we're going to talk about the TRiO program itself.
All right.
All right. So, first of all, I mean, as the director of the Upward Bound program, what are the type of students that you're looking for as you're recruiting them?
We're looking for students that have a history of a great attitude and hard work. So we evaluate them in several ways. Of course, we do take a look at their report cards and transcripts and things like that. We like to meet our students, but really we're not necessarily looking for a student who has a gleaming set of transcripts or anything like that. We're looking for a student, when I see comments where the teachers write comments, outstanding student to work with, student has a great attitude. Those types of things go a long way with me personally and with our program, because it just shows me that a student is coachable, is willing to absorb information and better themselves from day to day.
Chris, being a director of Upward Bound, what challenges do you see for high school students, and who want to go to post-secondary institution, to a post-secondary institution?
We talked a little bit about the male population, and I believe that it's a very challenging for males. At the University of New Mexico, we're at like a 65% female dominated campus, and it kind of speaks to that theory you guys were talking about earlier about males, hitting more extensive labor jobs. So that's a challenge that we see in our program. We're constantly looking for great males. We have lots of awesome female students, but we're short on males, and it's been like that since well before I got to the TRiO program. So that's a big challenge for us, and it's something that when we recruit, we're always looking for great male candidates, but sometimes they're hesitant to apply. For whatever reason, they're just not applying. So that's a big challenge for us.
Out of curiosity, since your time with Upward Bound, have you seen a slight increase in the male populations in your program, or the male population in your program?
We haven't seen an increase, but what we have seen is an increase in the males that were present, in their attendance rates and their excitement of the program. We have a core group of young men right now that they come to everything, and we're on every Saturday. Every single Saturday and every Tuesday, and they're there for everything.
Really?
Wow. Of 125 students, we got this core group of young men that they come to everything, and they don't miss an opportunity to fill out a FAFSA, to apply to a school, to go on a campus visit. They're there for everything. So that's been working out well, but I feel all the time, I'm like, we're looking for more we're looking for more boys. We need more. We need to diversify this. We love the boys we have, but they need exposure to other young men, and we need them to be around to sort of mentor the new young men, before they move on.
Absolutely. We just really quick, we found, I think, with our program and DJ JMR and myself, we found that there has been an increase in the male population. I think our situation mirrors most of any program, really, where we find an educational program where we've still have a high ratio of females as opposed to males, but we are seeming to even out that plane, I would say.
Absolutely. I would agree with that, Rod. Yeah, with our students, when we first came in, we had a vast number of female population and a very small number of male population in our program when we first joined, and we've since started kind of inching toward that. Now it's about a 50-50 almost. It's getting there, but Chris, with being the director, what is the best part of the Upward Bound program for you?
The best part about our program for me is sort of sitting back and watching a plan come together. To be honest with you, that's what I enjoy the most.
So you're kind of like the Hannibal from the A-Team.
I like seeing the plan come together and work out. A lot of people say it's the lunch with the parents or the students, and they go to, and I love those moments. But the thing with me is I'm social, so I'll socialize with anybody, and so I just love interacting with people on any level. So what I really appreciate is seeing the plan come together, because boy, the hours, you gentlemen can attest, they don't end. What are your hours when you're a TRiO director? I think they're 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so to see things come together, see that plan work out, that project, that new thing you're trying to do, that big event that you tried to pull off, and I like seeing those things come together, because rarely do you get together with your staff and celebrate and the moments that you're triumphant, whether it was a kid getting into an Ivy League school or just getting their diploma. Those moments come and go. So if I can take a second to sit back and watch that plan sort of unfold and be victorious and move on to the next one. But that's what I really love about the job, because it's so hard. There's so many details. Whether it's the budget to pull off a new program or something like that, it's never just one thing. A lot of times our students and parents, they come or they're involved in something, but it's never a one-step process. A lot of the stuff we do, I think you gentlemen can agree, starts months ahead of time, and
yes.
A lot of meetings to make things right, and a lot of resources coming together.
You mean you all have meetings, Chris?
Yeah, we are on, boy. We meetings for meetings to plan the next
about
meeting.
The meetings regarding the meetings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really have to highlight that, because I know at times I have to let DJ JMR breathe a little bit.
Now, I will say, in my defense, I love meeting with you, Rod, and you know that my social battery runs low after quite a few meetings, and I have to have like 10-15 minutes for a breather. So I'm just gonna say that in my defense.
Well, I have developed a sensibility to know when his battery has run low, and I just need to say, all right, meeting adjourned. We'll start in another 15 minutes, and we'll pick it up tomorrow.
And speaking of planning, Chris, and you can certainly attest to this. And actually, I'm just gonna say it, Rod. This past week, where for some reason, we knew a Saturday meeting was coming up, and for some reason, we knew we had planned this 4 or 5 months ago. And just a quick story. So Rod and I...
Don't tell my flaws now.
No, not a flaw, Rod. No. I think this speaks to how efficient we were. I mean, compared to the years that we started to now, that we had completely forgotten we had invited Rod has invited the New Mexico Workforce Connections. And we were thinking, what did we have planned for the bridge students? I don't know. What are we going to do? What presentation are we going to present? And sure enough, here we had New Mexico Workforce Connections. Rod had already had them planned and everything, and we were just kind of spacing out on things that we were doing. Like, what are we going to do about the parent meeting? Come to find out, it's already been planned, and we've already done it months ahead. I'm sure that's happened, right, Chris?
And that kind of speaks to one of my theories. It's like if you plan too far out ahead, you're gonna forget about it. I'm more of like in the moment. Like, when's that 10-page paper due? Tomorrow. When are you doing it? I'm doing it today. I'm gonna give it every ounce I got today. But if I work on it two weeks ago, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's not for a ways away. I don't need to worry about that.
Right.
So I can understand that for sure.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, it is something when you know the pieces have come together, whether you've prepared for it or you haven't. And I definitely have to say, I give kudos to you about just really celebrating the moments and really appreciating when things have come together. Because I know DJ JMR and I've looked over our agendas in the past, so currently we have a few more meetings left for the semester. And it's always refreshing when we can reflect back and say, man, we did that.
We
did that.
It happened.
Right.
It's there, and it happened.
And to see
those
successes.
We had a moment last semester, or was it what semester are we in? We're in the fall, so it was the spring semester last year. It had come to an end. We're getting ready to start a summer program. Oh, no. And we just sat there one day, me and one of the other staff members, and counted the number of events that we had, like where you send out letters and you notify her you're having an event, right? And we counted 48 in one semester, and we said, holy moly, that's a lot. We need to celebrate in some way. So we, at the staff meeting, we handed out some certificates and said, that's record-breaking for our group. And, it was a lot. And it just... It didn't seem like it during each week because we had so many hardworking people putting stuff together. But after you look back, you're like, that's something to pat people on the back for.
Absolutely.
If you don't celebrate after a summer program,
if you don't celebrate at least after that, it's like this thing has been for naught. No, I'm just kidding. No. I think it really needs to be celebrated because you're like, we've gone through with the staff and we've done a summer program. Especially now, Chris, you've done multiple summer programs. You feel super accomplished, I bet.
I do. And our summer program's a little different. We have kids in the dorm. Is that how you guys run yours? You have
this past summer was our first summer without the residential component, but all the years previous we had the whole dorm experience in the residential and RAs and students living on campus.
So I bet that sigh of relief was. You'll never have that sigh like you had.
No, you didn't hear any sigh from me, Chris. That wasn't a sigh. That was just me gasping for air.
Oh, yeah. After you get a couple summers under your belt, you feel accomplished, and you feel like you can fine tune things and make them better. It's a lot to be, and you sort of form a family not only with your students but with your staff, and you get to know good people in ways that you never thought that you would.
Right.
Chris, I need to make a quick announcement. I know we have students calling in now. Let me just say this for our callers. If you are calling in now, if you can please just give us a few more minutes. Once our interview is completed, then you are free to call in. But please give us a little bit more time so we can go through the interview. So if you're hearing this, please just hang up the phone and we'll pick it up once our interview is completed.
There you go. Thank you guys very much. All right, Chris, as you were saying, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what I was saying. I think
you were I know that just kind of abruptly happened.
I know, it's, yeah. Go ahead, Ron, sorry.
Well, do you want to share with us what is the most challenging part about Upward Bound for you and your experiences with Upward Bound?
I'd say the biggest challenge is that you're asked to be so good at so many different things, but never on a regular basis. Say like an APR. You're only doing that once a year for a couple of months, and then you move on to your summer program, and then you move on to your academic year components, and then of course you have all your behind the scenes stuff, the budgeting and the compliance to the representatives in Washington D.C. and your university level folks. So you're just asked to be so good at so many different things. We have all those components I mentioned, plus a lot of our folks teach. So I'm asking them to be the greatest teacher. I'm asking them to be a great tutor. I'm asking them to be a great field trip coordinator, a driver for a field trip. And that's, we're all doing so many different things. So it is hard. It's challenging to be, you want to be perfect at everything. You do. And, but you might not always have the repetition in a year because you've only done that project one time. And then you're not going to see it again for another 10 months. You back off the shelf. So I think that's the most challenging thing.
Absolutely.
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 And Chris, one question for you: how do you view your relationship in terms of the students? What type of relationship are you fostering with them as you see them from grade to grade?
I'm probably fostering, I'd say, a nice mentoring relationship. There's definitely a component where I've heard the staff say things like, well, could you talk to this student about that? And I would say, sure, is everything okay? And and they would say things like, well, the only reason I'm not talking to them is because when you tell people things, it's different. They respond differently. So I think there is that error.
Yeah, Rod and I kind of share the same dynamic in that there are certain students where we will say, you're better off with talking to Rod about that because he's a bit more knowledgeable in that area, or vice versa, where we would have a different staff member to talk a different staff member to talk about them, because you really are dealing with a different dynamic of students that not one single person can do it all. You try to you try your hardest to give it 100%, but we're fortunate enough to have several different staff members to say, all right, I can hook you up with this person over here because they know more about it than I do.
Right. Yeah, you're right, and so the relationship is, it can be like that in some ways, but I think that's a good thing because, I try to tell my staff, don't forget that, our students, we need to model, they need us for, we don't necessarily want to be their best friend. We sure want to have a relationship, but we want the end goal is to improve their life, through education and those types of initiatives. And I've had moments with students where I've sat down and had a lunch with them and enjoyed them and talked about, their favorite football teams and, all that type of stuff. And also moments where I've heard staff say things like, maybe you should talk to a student about this or that. So that just leads me to believe there's that component. But,
Right.
I love our kids. I tell their parents that I am, I'm like them. Our program is here run in the urban part of Albuquerque. I'm from this area.
Yeah.
I know the streets your students are walking. I know the alleys they're hiding out in. I know the schools they went to and what it's like at those schools, the pressures that exist or don't exist. And I'm going to take care of them just like I would if they were any one of my 3 kids that I have. And I'm going to be looking out for them. Mm-hmm. And so, I think it's a real relationship. It's sort of like we say here in Albuquerque, gente, like the people. Like, I try to make them feel like I'm one of them. Like, I know what you're going through, so you can come and talk to me. But at the same time, my goal is not to be friends. My goal is to improve your life through, knowledge, education, things of that nature.
Yeah,
absolutely. I do need to take a quick pause and just say you are listening to Hound Waves Portales. So if you have chimed in, please know that you're listening to Hound Waves of Portales. Okay, just a few more questions, Mr. Chris. In light of all of the transitions that are happening on the political scheme, how do you feel about the current status in D.C. in terms of budget cuts, etc.?
Well, I guess the current status is optimistic because the last that I was updated on is that there was a chance for us to get back the 5% that we lost. Mm-hmm. So, that's optimistic. We'd love to have that back because it's definitely, we're going to feel the pinch this year. Okay. So, from that regard, it's optimistic. As far as the legislation and the what's going on between folks in the government lockout that existed, I can't say that. I understand it enough to give a fierce response, but other than to say that, I hope the individuals involved realize that they're impacting lives, not necessarily you or me, because, that will impact us for sure, but the students and their parents and, the lack of services, we've needed to contact our folks in D.C. We were at work, right, so we weren't out, but our reps in D.C., Joyce and some of those nice folks, they were out of work, so, they got behind on stuff like the APR and just getting back to budget questions and things like that. So I feel optimistic, but, I don't know. I hope everything works out.
I'd definitely have to concur. I'll save some of my comments. That was my last question, but I want to say that you all were definitely missed at the state meeting. right along with DJ JMR. But you all were definitely missed at not the state meeting, but at SWASEP, our regional meeting. And we definitely hope that you all can join for the state meeting. So, Chris, thank you for indulging us in our questions. I believe DJ JMR has one more question for you, and we will
wrap it up. All right, Chris, just one last question. Any last comments or any last thoughts you would like to share with us and our listeners about your program?
About the Upward Bound program at UNM, sure. We're easy to find. If you type in UNM Upward Bound, you're going to find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, our website. Connect with your friends and family that are in Albuquerque and they're looking for services. If you're a student at Eastern or in the area down there in Eastern New Mexico, Southeast New Mexico, and Eastern New Mexico, if you're interested in a campus visit, contact us. You can just look us up. You're holding a cell phone or on your computer, look UNM Upward Bound. We'll give you an outstanding tour. We just had the New Mexico State group up, so we'll be glad to show you our campuses. And I say campuses because there are three. There's UNM North, South, and Main, and they're all on one large city grid block. So we're glad to show you just about a little bit of everything. And I missed going to SWASAP this year. The story was that I just moved into a new home, and moving into a new home, we've got boxes everywhere, and I've got 3 kids. So I was hoping to be moved in time, but the house wasn't ready for us. So I missed you all out there. We will be at the state meetings. We have a great conference planned. The Professional Development Committee has 4 great workshops that we're going to present. So I appreciate you guys, what you're doing. This is awesome. And for those of you that are out there in Eastern, Rod and DJ JMR are awesome. They're some of the finest young men you'll run across throughout the country.
You're going to make us blush, Chris. You're making us blush.
They are well-educated.
Brown, so I don't blush much.
Get out of here.
No, I mean that. I mean, for the young men that are listening, for the young men, Rod and DJ Jam are examples of just regular guys that found a way, a better way, a nicer way to live their life. These well-educated, strapping young men traveling the country and spreading our message through TRiO. So thank you guys for what you do.
Referring to us, Rod. I'm not too sure.
we really, really appreciate your kind words. And definitely likewise. Definitely
Yes,
likewise.
Absolutely. We feel the same way about you, Chris. Thank you so much for being on the program, Chris. We hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great evening.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the interview with Mr. Christopher Luna from the UNM TRiO Upward Bound program. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We'll be back with more with our final closing thoughts, and then from there, we'll take callers. Okay, so quick 10-minute break, taking calls, closing thoughts. All right, DJ Brother Rod, I think I have Lindsay Sterling with Transcendence. I want to dedicate this song to my sister, my little sister Martha, listening over there in Las Cruces.
Martha! Here you go, Martha. And just like to say again, please, once the songs have ended, please give us a call. Or in fact, you can call in as the music is playing. You'll just be placed on hold. So if we have any testimonials or if any of our students want to call in, please go ahead and call in. We'll place you on hold. But please know that the songs will have to be done, son. Yes. Done, son. All right, here's to you, Miss Martha. All right, you were just listening to Send It On by D'Angelo from his sophomore album Voodoo. And before then, you were listening to Lindsay Sterling, Transcendence. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a caller or a testimonial at this time. We have one of our guests. I'll allow her to introduce herself. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, what would you like to say to the people? Introduce yourself. Who are you? Who are we speaking to?
I am Mercedes Andrew Maxine Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And what school do you attend, Mercedes?
I go to Britalis High.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, how has Upward Bound impacted you?
Well, it helps me get good grades, and it helps me a lot.
It helps you a lot. Awesome. Do you enjoy the meetings? Have you had an opportunity to travel? How was your travel?
It was pretty fun. Like, I got to meet a lot of the Clovis kids, and they're pretty interesting.
Pretty interesting. Good. Well, good. Well, because you have called in, you know that when we visit your high school this week, you'll be given the option for a customized lunch. So we just need to make sure that we get with you on what you would like to have for lunch. DJ JMR, you have any words for our guest caller, Miss Mercedes?
Mercedes, I'm just very happy you called in. Thank you so much, and I hope you're enjoying listening to us.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right,
Okay.
good night, Mercedes.
Good night.
Good day.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for this show. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Remember to tune in the same time next week. We'll be hearing from two talent search professionals, Ana Maria Short and Vanessa McBee, representing the TRiO Talent Search Program here at Eastern New Mexico University. That does it for us. Oh,
You want to make sure and let them know that we won't be live next Sunday. You want to give the date on when did you already give the date? I just kind of blocked it all out.
I'm sorry. What?
Did you give the date? Because we won't be here next Sunday.
We won't be here next Sunday. We'll post it on Facebook.
Okay.
We'll post it on Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. And again, thank you very much. That does it for us, Rod. So we are done. That was a great conversation we had with Mr. Luna.
Yes, sir. I definitely enjoyed it. And Mr. Luna, we're excited about you being our next president, because I believe he'll be our next state president. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we're excited about your leadership and what you'll bring to the table. Ed, if you're listening, we're definitely excited about what you're bringing to the table as well. So, DJ JMR, put it back to you.
All right.
Back to you,
Thank you guys very much for listening. Tune in. Keep it here on Hound Waves. There is another show immediately following ours. It's starting here in just a minute. So keep it live. Keep it tuned in. This is DJ JMR and DJ Brother Rod signing out.
Peace.